I'm T-Mac.
And I'm Ike from IkesOutdoors.com. Today we're here to give you a few tips on shot placement and angle of your shot. I'm going to give you a few tips on compound bow, and Tyson's going to cover a few things on longbow because your shot placement is going to be a little bit different for a longbow. Now, the first key that you're going to want to cover is know where the organs on this deer are, no matter what you're shooting. Your heart's going to set low, right behind this leg is where I generally line my shot up. Your heart's going to set low, your lungs are going to be a little bit higher, your liver is going to be right about the midsection. And you want to stick up here in the liver and the lungs, or in the lungs and the heart, I'm sorry. You want to try to avoid the liver and the guts and everything back here as much as possible. Now, for me with compound bow, this shoulder doesn't really matter because my compound bow is going to blow through it most of the time anyway. If you're shooting lower poundage or shooting longbow, Tyson will cover where you might want to aim for that. But so for me, I can pretty much aim anywhere in this area right here, and I'm going to get a good clean kill. Now, the most important thing when it comes to that though is angle. If you're straight on broadside, any kill like that, any angle like that is going to get you a good kill. But if you're angling, if this deer is angling away from you at a steep angle, and you shoot him up here, you're probably not going to get a kill. Your arrow is actually going to come out here, and it's probably more than likely going to miss everything. You got to steer at a steep angle, and Tyson, pitch in anytime you think that you can offer some advice. If I got a deer at an angle and I'm shooting exactly like this, where I'm going to aim is actually going to be back here in the guts. Where I'm going to aim, what I'm worried about is my exit hole, not my entry hole. I'm going to aim right here above this thigh, in front of this thigh, and I'm going to get my angle like that. What that's going to do, my entry hole or my exit hole is going to blow out right in front of his offside shoulder. That's going to take out his lungs, his liver, and his heart. If the angle's right, you may get both lungs. But more than likely, if you can get in there, you're going to get something vital and you're going to get a big kill. Now, it's just the opposite the other way. You're going to want to aim for that front shoulder. If the deer's angling towards you and you decide to take that shot, you're going to want to aim about the middle of his neck. You're going to want to aim about right in this area here. You want that exit hole to blow all through those vitals. And like I said, for me, it doesn't even matter. That shoulder doesn't matter. I'll blow right through that shoulder almost every time. So that's the tips I got for compound bow. T-Mac's going to give you a few tips on longbow.
If you got a longbow recurve, you really want to avoid that shoulder bone. It's maybe not so much the back plate, but the big thickest part that protects that right there will absolutely stop a longbow or recurve shaft. I've done it before, plowed in there, and that's about as much penetration as you're probably going to get. And you will not kill the deer. So there's a lot of lungs back there, so if you aim 4 inches behind that leg, just to give you a good area to aim for, where you ain't got to worry about that shoulder blade, I'm going right there, middle of the lungs. You know, lungs are going to do it. You don't have to get the heart to kill a deer. If you take out both lungs, he is going to go down just as quick, because if he ain't got air, he ain't going to live. And your best bet with your longbow or recurve or your lower poundage is that quartering away shot, the dream shot everybody likes. That last rib, right behind that last rib, bam. If you hit in front of the rib, you know, like you said, it could follow that contour of that rib, and just, if you've skinny ever processed a deer, there ain't nothing in that underneath that shoulder that's going to hurt them. It's just going to blow right out, and they're going to be just fine.
And even if you do skin and actually puncture one lung, a deer can live through one lung. A deer can live off of one lung.
You don't want to just depend on the one lung here. You want to get both them lungs. And at a steep angle, them lungs go really far back. And at that steep angle, you're probably going to clip the back of this onside lung and demolish the offside lung. It's going to totally tear it up. And now, up at high with your longbow, I've done this with the recurve. You got your shot is up, you know, a tree stand, and you try a high shot at a deer that's 3 or 4 yards. If you don't place that arrow in between the spine and just outside the back strap, I've had the arrow, if it's too far to the left, follow the ribs and never even hurt him.
And that's one of the shots that I almost avoid taking nowadays. I've had too many of them go bad on me. That straight down shot, and when they're real close, I've had too many of them go bad on me, and not had good luck with it.
Usually, with a compound, I mean, you got to blow out the bottom to even get a blood trail or follow.
That's the thing too. That's a good point, because if you don't blow out the bottom, the blood's coming at the top, and it's got to
run
cool all the way down,
the
and that
back.
hair is going to absorb a lot of it, so you're not going to get much of a blood trail.
I've shot my first buck with a longbow right here, and if it hadn't been my dad hearing him fall, we probably wouldn't have found him. But it was a real steep shot, and I thought, well, I'm going to go for a spine, but I missed the spine. And another bad thing about that shot, I think, is you're going to tear up some backstrap, and that's like a big no-no in my book. So them straight down shots, I mean, you can take them, and people are good at them, but for me, I like to hunt about 15 feet so that the angle isn't so steep.
That's what I do. I do 15 to 20 foot. 20 foot if I have to go that high. Most of the time I'm 15.
Because that offers a great angle.
So for a compound bow, I'll take almost any angle that I can get to, or a good angle where I can punch it completely through the vitals. And I don't worry so much about that shoulder blade. I'll shoot from back. I'll shoot from the front. The only thing I won't hardly take is that straight down shot. Is there any of those that you'll avoid with a longbow?
With longbow, I probably will avoid this shot here.
Yeah, I mean a steep angle, because like with my compound bow, even if I got to shoot him, I'll avoid this area here, but if I can get it up in front of that thigh, I'll take that shot. Would you do that with a longbow?
I would with the longbow, because that offers, if you get that angle and you sneak it behind that last rib, there is nothing there to stop that arrow. Not even, just gut and a little bit of gut, not much.
If you guys have seen the footage of me shooting last year, the big buck that I killed in Missouri, he was actually at a real steep quartering angle for me, and I hit him right behind the last rib, and it came out right in front of his shoulder, and he went 75 yards maybe and died. And I mean, it blew out everything on him. Now the front one, I noticed in the front angle, I've had less penetration coming through that way. The big thick muscles of the shoulder seem to slow it down a little bit.
All your ribs come together right there in the front, the brisket. That's where all your ribs are closest. Yep. And that really is a good protection area. If you can't blow through that, you're not going to get good penetration. Yeah. But it is a good shot for a compound. I probably would not take it with a longbow.
Yeah, I've killed a few that way with compound.
I have with a compound.
Now, another thing I want to talk about is there are some dead zones, probably ain't the right word for them. No-kill zones would probably be a better word for them in this section here. I've shot some and actually hit them right down here and hit them too low, and you hit that brisket and there's nothing there. You don't catch heart, you don't catch lung, you're just a flesh wound. And the same way up here, if you get in between that back strap and the top of those lungs, remember that big sucker I killed I shot a few years ago. Right. I hit him right there and I didn't kill him.
If you don't hit that main artery that runs the top of your lungs and below your back strap, that's just a meat shot. I mean, I've shot plumb through.
Meat shot, that's exactly right. Yeah.
I've shot plumb through a doe like that with my longbow, and she bled a little bit, but it ain't gonna hurt. It ain't gonna kill them.
All right, so with a longbow, you want to avoid as much bone and as much big, thick, heavy muscle as possible. With compound bow, you can get away with a little bit more, especially if you're shooting pretty fast. But the thing that I think about every time isn't where the shot's going in, it's where the shot's going out. So that's the biggest tip that I've got for you, is know where your shot's going to come out and learn the vitals on this animal. And don't go off of what these targets say.
Yeah, these targets.
This is a Glendale, but this target, to me, is not accurate. To me, I think this heart sits down a little bit lower, and the lungs are actually a little bit bigger. And the liver, I think, sits right about here.
Just right in front of the diaphragm.
The liver's pretty big. But if you take out that diaphragm, too, that's another nice thing about the angle. If you get an angle shot and you take out that diaphragm, that's a dead deer.
Yeah, they say, generally, if you bust into the cavity, good, you're going to kill that deer. Yeah. But you got to get through the ribs. You got to have the right angle. And the best angle I've ever had was that buck I shot last year, and he was just, bam, quartering away. Only thing that stopped it was his offside shoulder blade, but if you make it to the offside shoulder blade, you've done your job. Yeah. He's done.
And that's what my shot last year went through the last rib, and actually came out right here, and that deer went less than 100 yards in an open field. If there had been brush, I don't think he would have went that far. But he went out through an open field, and he laid down and died that quick. And that's what we're all after, is that quick, humane kill. Too, if you shoot something with horns like this, I want it dead. I want it dead as soon as I hit it.
And remember now, and if you're shooting a rifle or something, and you hit the deer and it goes down, don't count on that deer being dead. I know he's had this happen to him.
Yeah.
What that is your arrow cuts arteries and slices and dices and causes maximum damage going through. A gun might hit him in a bad spot, but the shot knocks them out. Just that whole shot right all through their body, and they could just drop just from like being knocked
what
out.
he's referring to is I shot a doe. It's been probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. She went down, she kicked, and she stopped. I got my gun unloaded, lowered my gun down, and looked up, and she was gone. Never found a blood trail, never found nothing. The doe went down like she was dead, but we never found her. No sign that she was ever there, except for where she laid there kicking. That's the only thing I can think's happened is I hit muscle, and it just went through and zipped through so fast that it didn't do enough damage to hurt her. Well, I'm sure it hurt her, but it didn't do enough damage to kill her.
I'm T-Mac.
And I'm Ike.
This is another tip from IkesOutdoors.com. Thank you for tuning in.
Appreciate you guys watching.
I like good times, good wine, good smoke, and a 5-piece bed. And ooh, I can't help it.